What if I told you that IBRX doesn't actually need to become the next Pfizer or Moderna for the stock to potentially double from here? ImmunityBio is sitting around the $8 area right now, and the big question is, can IBRX realistically reach $15? What about $20? And is $30 completely crazy? Well, I think the answer is a little more complicated than most IBRX videos are making it sound. So stay with me, because there's one number in this story that could completely change how investors look at IBRX. First, let's talk about what's actually happening with the business. ImmunityBio's biggest story right now is ANKTIVA, and this is important because we're no longer talking about a biotech that is only waiting for a drug approval. ANKTIVA is already generating real revenue. In Q2 2026, ImmunityBio reported about $50.7 million in net product revenue. That was up 92% compared with the same quarter last year. Even more interesting, this was the company's 8th consecutive quarter of sequential revenue growth since ANKTIVA launched commercially. That tells me something. The story is slowly moving from, will this drug ever become a real business, to, how big can this business actually become? And that's a completely different investment story. But here comes the twist. Strong revenue growth doesn't automatically mean the stock should go to $30, because IBRX is still a biotech, and biotech stocks can look amazing on the way up, and absolutely brutal when expectations get too high. The company is still spending heavily on research, development, and commercial expansion, and the balance sheet has significant liabilities, so I'm not looking at IBRX as a safe investment. I'm looking at it as a high-risk, high-reward opportunity. Now let's get to the price targets. At roughly $8 a share, I think $50 is the first level that investors should seriously watch. Why? Because if ANKTIVA sales continue growing, international expansion keeps moving forward, and the company gets positive regulatory developments, the market could start assigning a higher valuation to IBRX. In my opinion, $12 to $15 is a realistic bullish zone if execution continues, and then we have $20. This is where things get much more interesting. For IBRX to reach $20, I think investors would need to see more than just one strong quarter. We would need continued ANKTIVA adoption, stronger revenue, successful expansion into additional markets, and positive clinical or regulatory developments. If those pieces start coming together, $20 becomes possible. But I would not call it my base case. Now, what about $30? Here's where I'm going to be careful. I don't think $30 is impossible, but I also don't think investors should buy IBRX today assuming $30 is guaranteed. For $30, ImmunityBio would probably need to prove that ANKTIVA can become a much larger commercial franchise than the market currently expects. And that could require successful label expansions, stronger sales, additional cancer indications, and continued clinical validation. There's another major catalyst investors need to watch. The FDA has accepted ImmunityBio's supplemental application for ANKTIVA plus BCG and BCG unresponsive non-muscle invasive bladder cancer with papillary disease. The target FDA action date is January 6, 2027. And honestly, this could be one of the biggest moments for IBRX shareholders. Because if the FDA gives the green light, the potential market for ANKTIVA could become significantly larger. But here's the catch. A positive FDA decision doesn't automatically mean the stock goes straight to $30. The market will still look at sales growth, future revenue, cash burn, competition, and how much investors are willing to pay for that future growth. So there's still a lot that has to go right. So what's my personal prediction? If IBRX continues executing and ANKTIVA sales keep growing, my base bullish target would be around $12 to $15. If the company delivers strong commercial growth and gets meaningful regulatory wins, I could see a path toward $20. And $30, I would put that firmly in the aggressive bull case category. Possible? Yes. Something I would assume? Absolutely not. And honestly, that's what makes IBRX interesting. You're not simply betting on a stock chart. You're betting on whether ImmunityBio can turn ANKTIVA into a much bigger oncology business, and that's the part I'm watching. Because if revenue keeps accelerating while the company expands internationally and unlocks additional indications, the market may eventually stop valuing IBRX like a speculative biotech and start valuing it more like a growing commercial stage oncology company. But there's also a risk investors cannot ignore: valuation. The stock has already moved dramatically from its lows, so the easy part of the recovery may already be behind us. that means future gains will probably require the business to actually deliver. So if you ask me personally, would I chase IBRX just because someone says it can hit $30? No. Would I keep IBRX on my watch list because ANKTIVA is showing real commercial growth and there are major regulatory catalysts ahead? Absolutely. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think? Can IBRX reach 15? Can it actually reach 20? Or do you think $30 is realistic over the long term? Drop your target in the comments. And if you want more videos where we break down small cap stocks, biotech plays, catalysts, risks, and realistic price targets without the hype, make sure you subscribe. Because the next big move in IBRX might not come from the stock chart. It could come from what happens with ANKTIVA.